Great.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrea LaPlante. I'm a national marketing director with the Juice Plus company. I'm also a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. And we're gathering tonight. We talk about things that matter to us, to our health, and to the planet, and the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, and just getting more plants into people's diets, healing, feeling great well into the future, and leaving a beautiful planet for our future generations. But Helen is going to just share a little bit about, just feel free to say welcome to your guests and why you're excited to be here. And then I'll just jump in and share some slides and some education.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of this group and this company. It's fantastic from what I've learned and what I've heard. It's nice to see all you ladies. I'm glad you could make it joy, and see the other ones as well, so fantastic.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just pull up some slides so everybody can get a visual on the education. I'm a bit of an education junkie, so can you see the slides here, guys?
Yep.
Okay, just one time I did the presentation and the slide didn't pop up and I was halfway through. So just want to make sure I don't make that mistake. So basically what we do is we inspire healthy living around the world. And I'll get into my story in a minute. But first, I think it's good to know where we are and why we're all gathering here. And one is that, we would love to say we're living a really healthy planet and that our health is top notch. But when you look at society and statistics today, 1 in 4 people will die of heart disease, and it's the #1 cause of death. 1 in 2 women, 1 in 3 men develop cancer. 1 in 3 have diabetes by 2050. And what we're learning, and 1 in 5 children is obese, that children are getting type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Children are obese, and this is causing disease. And we're even hearing about hardening in the arteries of babies in utero. And when I started down this path, I'm a mom of 3 kids. When I saw this quote, "Our children are more harmed by poor diet than by exposure to drugs, alcohol, and tobacco combined." You know the term mama bear? Anyone out there a mama bear? So you have your kids and you want to give them the world. Obviously, you teach, manners and discipline, and when we talk to our kids about, oh, we want you to eat your fruits and vegetables, we want you to be healthy, but knowing that there's an infrastructure set up that their diet is causing them more harm, and we're part of that, it just didn't sit right with me. I thought, I need to be part of changing this. This isn't right. So what's going on? Why is it that that's the case today? One is that we have environmental toxins on the rise. And we all know this, and this isn't meant to be doom and gloom, but it is our reality. And you can look at all the examples on the bottom of the screen of, there's over-the-counter drugs, prescription drugs, chemicals, pollutants, water contaminants, pesticides, skincare products, hair care products, plastics. They're talking about microplastics now, that people are actually ingesting an entire credit card worth of plastic into their bodies every day. And that is getting higher and higher, the increase of the plastics that we're taking in. Our bodies were not meant to be exposed to all of the toxins that they're exposed to. It's just not how the human body can handle all of these things. It's constantly trying to detox, but it needs some help, and we need help. And at the same time, it's nobody's fault, the food quality is decreasing because we're no longer that nomadic society that walked around eating 600 plants a day, munching on nuts or finding this plant and moving along and getting the synergy of all of these different types of plants, which is how the human body is made to exist. We're very much stationary now, and we ship our produce into supermarkets. So what happens is, if you can even see in the picture, they're injecting the apple. Well, that's to make it look pretty and sit on a shelf and be able to sit in a plane or a train or an automobile. You could be in Florida and have an orange from California. So what's happened is that society has evolved, which is great in a lot of ways, but more than 50% of Americans, we are eating processed food, the preservatives, flavor enhancers, artificial colors. If you look at the supermarket and you walk down the aisles and you see colors that are blinding to the eye, that are being marketed to our kids, all these food dyes, which are disrupting the brain and all of the things in our body, it's just very overwhelming. So at the same time we're being exposed to toxins, our food quality is decreasing. And you broccoli could lose 50 to 80% of its key nutrients before you purchase it. You need to eat 8 oranges to get the same vitamin C today as you would have had to 20 years ago. Produce now has 50% less nutrition in it than it did when our grandparents grew it, and they had their produce right there. And when you look at the Amish, and they've been, utilizing sustainable practices in their growing, and their produce isn't picked, and shipped. They're eating it right there. So there's something to be said for that. So what can we do to be healthier? It's not just, eat this and you're good. It's your body needs to move. It needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. That's when we do most of our detoxing, is in our sleep. That's when our liver works overtime. Managing stress, drinking water, getting some hydration in, using safer products, and eating real food. And that's really where we're going to talk a little bit today about the fruits and vegetables and how they prevent disease. So, excuse me, if you haven't heard of oxidative stress, I'm sure you've probably heard of free radical damage. But basically, a great explanation is taking an apple and cutting it in half, and that white fleshy part is sitting out into the air. And if there's 2 different pieces and you put squeeze a lemon on one half, it ages slower. But the other half that's exposed to the oxygen, the oxidative stress causes it to turn brown and age and rust and decay faster. And that's what goes on inside our body. We just take in oxygen because we're human and we need that, but it causes free radicals to attack our DNA and our organs. It's a byproduct. It's just like driving a car, and the byproduct, you see the smoke coming out the back end of your car. It's just how our engine works, but we have to protect against the oxidative damage that happens. And nobody wants to age fast or have chronic illness and disease. Nobody wants to turn rusty on the inside. And if I talk to kids in school, I'll say, well, what kind of car would you like to drive? They never say an old rusty car. They always say the fast car with the smooth, clean engine that can take you from here to there in less than, short amount of time, the sports car, right? And that's what inside our body, when we take that in and we start resting there, the one way to help prevent against oxidative stress and the damage that it causes is by adding the antioxidant to our body, because that helps to reduce. It's almost like that Pac-Man that comes in and it eats those free radicals, so they don't take off in your body and cause disease, decay, and inflammation. So we need more plants with the phytonutrients and the antioxidants to help reduce that oxidative damage. And what is oxidation, and how can you get oxidized in your body? It's if you didn't get enough sleep one night, or maybe you drank too much alcohol, or you haven't been exercising, you didn't eat that well one day. All of those things affect how our body runs and the oxidation process. So obviously the news isn't that fruits and vegetables are good for you. It's that they're so good for you that they could save your life. And I just think when we talked a little bit about our produce today is depleted, and I mentioned a little bit about the shipping, but our produce is not meant to be hard, and it's supposed to have a smell. You're supposed to be able to break a piece of basil and smell it across the room. And I think, and I'll share it, we have a tower garden as well, but I remember being in the classroom with some kids and they'd say, Mrs. LaPlante, I never knew lettuce had a smell. And that's because typically when things are picked before they're ripe, they are not getting ripe in the store. The nutritional content is already depleting. So they've reached a peak. They should be here. They've only reached here. They're picked so that they don't decay. They're not getting more nutrient dense. They're actually depleting. And then maybe you pick it off the shelf. Maybe it sits there. You bring it home. It's on your counter, or maybe it goes in your fridge for a couple of days. And you're still not getting that nutrient density, the quality and the variety that you need. So because it's picked and shipped and transported, we're not getting enough servings. We're not getting enough variety. We live in New England here. It's seasonal. So now it's kind of the fall produce, but the apples are great right now. But when you think about some of the summer, like we're not getting that watermelon or the cherries, everything's kind of seasonal, but our produce should taste and smell and should just be oozing with scent. And that's where the nutrition is, but they wouldn't allow that get to that point because it would be decayed by the time it got to us. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is actually where my story comes in, multivitamins versus whole food. I have 3 kids, and my pediatrician recommended vitamins. And I remember growing up as a kid and not being at the doctor very much. But when I had my kids, it was like, this is strange. They're catching this or that, tubes in the ears, eczema, molluscum. I don't remember being a revolving door. And the pediatrician recommended vitamins. My middle son actually overdosed on vitamins. And that's really where my story takes off, because it was such a wake up call for me. I never realized you could overdose, even though it says on a vitamin bottle, child safety lock, poison control number, poison control. I just thought, well, I'm trusting, who's telling me this information. Shame on me. I should have done more research. But at the time, I just thought, well, isn't this what people do? They use vitamins for the gaps that they're not getting in their diet. And when I started researching, there were over 58,000 calls made to poison control centers for vitamin overdoses. And some of those were fatalities. And I'm really lucky my son's okay. And that was an experience for me, but it woke me up. It was like someone hit me over the head with a brick. And I was like, I need to be my own health advocate. And I need to be getting the whole food in my family, not the isolated food that is in an isolated vitamin. So it's a good concept. Okay. We're trying to, isolate from the food source and put it in this man-made doctored up vitamin pill. But what happens is it becomes expensive urine, and it's not absorbed by the body. It's not utilized the way the apple is utilized. So this is a great image of a supplement fact versus nutrition. And the apple has over 12,500 phytonutrients. So vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients, and they're all in that one apple. So when you want the 12,500 phytonutrients, as opposed to maybe the top 5 or 6 that a chemist pulls out and puts in the vitamin, that's not absorbed. So fruits and vegetables is supposed to work in synergy with all of those. 20,000 phytonutrients in one little blueberry, 12,500 in apple. That's what the human body needs in order, all that orchestra. And that's where this comes in. So one day I was actually looking for a whole food nutritional something that wasn't a vitamin. And I saw this at my gym and I thought, why haven't I heard about this? I was really frustrated. Why did it take so long for me to hear? And then when I did, I was so excited because it has a nutrition label. So it's the same label that you see in a bag of carrots or spinach at the grocery store. Number one, I immediately looked to see if there was a child safety lock, no child safety lock, no poison control number, no warning label. And I love that it wasn't, oh, if you're a man, have this, and if you're a woman, have this. That just didn't make sense to me. And my number one thing was, can a baby, can a baby eat this? Can a pregnant mom eat this? What is this? Just food? It's just a salad bar in a capsule. 6-month-old baby, mama, ready to give birth, after birth, pre-birth. I just wish I knew about this sooner. And I can't beat myself up about it. But what I did was, once I found out, I started adding it to our diet right away. It made sense to me. Fruits, vegetables, berries, full spectrum vegan omega. It's basically this menu. It's all these foods that I haven't even actually bought black currants in my life and eaten them. And I don't typically buy elderberry, even though I know a lot of people like to make their own elderberry syrup, but it's expensive and there's a lot of sugar in it. But this is the ability to get all of these plants, 30 plants, plus the vegan omegas with those plants in our diet every day. And I remember someone saying, well, what's the difference between, this pineapple or this broccoli? Well, we actually have been working with the same local farmers for the past 25 years that specialize in one crop, and they use sustainable growing practices. That was very important to me too. We grow a very bitter broccoli that you wouldn't even get in the store. People wouldn't want to taste it because it's so bitter, but it has a higher nutrient density. The pineapple, have you ever eaten the skin and the crown? That's all in there. They take the whole plant, they wash it with water and throw it in this big, what looks like a big silver vat, and they crush it whole. So you're getting the leaves of the broccoli and the stalks, and the beet leaves and the carrots with the leaves. Everything's thrown in, and crushed whole, which I loved. Nothing's isolated. It's just crushed, dehydrated. The sugar and the water is removed. And then once it's dehydrated, they encapsulate it or they test it actually. And I can talk to you about that too. But this is the vegan omega. If you're not taking an omega, our bodies can't make it. It's something we have to get from an outside source. And I never liked the idea of the fish oil. And I started looking into it. And a lot of times it comes back at you and you have those fishy burps because the shell of the fish oil is so hard. They have to heat it so high in order for it to gel. And by that time, inside that fish oil gets rancid. So it ends up coming back at you. This is a vegan omega, and we have a plant-based capsule, and there's a little nitrogen bubble in there to make sure that the heat doesn't affect the oil inside of the plants that are in here. So it's not just omega-3, it's 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9. And it's basically an anti-inflammatory in a capsule. When you think of every organ in your body needs omegas, and it really helps with that inflammatory property, heart, brain, joints, skin, eyes. And then if you like the idea of smoothies, we have this incredible vegan nutritional beverage. I remember years ago when I first heard about shakes, a lot of people were introducing them. And I remember saying, that's not for me. It's an animal based. I was really looking for a plant-based option. And then they came out with this plant-based option, which I love. My family, we drink it for breakfast every morning. We make protein bites. We sprinkle it on our pancakes and in our oatmeal. And it's just a great way to help fertilize the good bacteria in your gut. It's low glycemic, so it keeps your blood sugar stable, which is huge. You're not craving sugar. It's gluten and dairy free. It keeps you satiated, and it's got prebiotic fiber in it, which basically fertilizes all the good guys in your gut. It's food for your good guys so they grow and they're healthy and they're strong, and it's delicious as well. So this is not a multivitamin. It's a food label made with non-GMO ingredients. And you can look at the slide here. But what I love to talk about is the third party that comes in and tests the produce for herbicides, pesticides, molds, mildews, heavy metals, you name it. No banned substances. So we have Olympic athletes and USA teams that are using this to help support their nutritional performance. And it's great too, if you know of anyone that's looking to get a scholarship in college. There are a lot of athletes, young athletes, that will go to GNC and add things to their diet, not knowing what's in it. And then they find out maybe, there's something that was in there that has caused them their scholarship or even in professional sports. So this is just to show that what's on the label is in the bottle. And it's clean and safe for 6-month-old baby, elderly in a feeding tube. It's just food. And it's the most thoroughly researched nutritional product in the world globally. So we really are, the vision of our company is we are the global leader in plant-based nutrition and sustainability too. So we really care about the earth and the environment. And this is just a quick look at the research and what it's proven to do. When we talk about an isolated vitamin that's not bioavailable. Bioavailability means it gets into your bloodstream and it goes to work and it starts doing things like supporting your immune system, lung function, helps protect your DNA. So you don't look like that rusty old car, that it actually keeps your DNA intact. Reduces that oxidative stress. It's absorbed by the body, which is huge, so on and so forth. And there's so many great things we know that plant-based nutrition does for us. It's just so difficult for us to get the quality and the variety in our diet every day. So this isn't to replace eating well or eating fruits and vegetables. We actually add this to our diet every morning before we leave the house. And then we still chop and slice, the seasonal produce that we get at the store. And we do our best, but there is absolutely no way that we'd be able to get all of these. We get 50 plants in our bloodstream every day, regardless of how hectic life gets. And it's completely changed the picture of our health. And we thought we were healthy. We were a family of athletes. And we were like, oh, well, doesn't everybody have something? My husband had severe back pain. He was looking at surgery. He reduced the inflammation and he didn't need to go that route. I had chronic sinus infections that I couldn't control that were getting worse as I got older. And I just thought, well, maybe that's just genetic. And we reversed that. So we reversed our allergies and no more colds and flus, only well checks for the last 10 years for a family of 5, no meds of any kind. And when I started, there's a plan that this company is amazing. I mean, you hear about companies that might say, oh, well, here's a coupon for $5 off or this or that. Well, we actually give away free nutrition to every child with an adult sponsor for up to 4 years. So I sponsored my daughter for 4 years. She received her fruits, vegetables, and berries. My son, my husband sponsored, and then my parents sponsored my third child. And all of these things here that you can see, missing fewer days of school, we're taking fewer over-the-counter and prescription drugs, drinking more water, visiting the doctor less, consuming less fast food, eating more fruits and vegetables. They have learned so much, and they have such an understanding of what food does to fuel their athletes, and they want to perform well in school. They want to do well, but they don't want to miss school. They don't want to miss practice. They don't want to miss their games. They want to be present, and they understand, they have this understanding of what food does to fuel and heal, which is, it's such a gift as a mom. And if you like to grow your own, we also have what's called the Tower Garden. I've got about networked with some schools in the area. There's about 11, I think 12 now schools I've worked with. I have two tower gardens in my house, and we grow our greens year round. So when it's cold and snowy outside, I've got all my different types of lettuces growing indoors. And this is a sustainability queen. So if you love growing your own, having more variety, knowing where your food comes from, it's not taking up space in the fridge, 98% less water, 90% less space. You're growing in New England year round. It's on a timer. And if you don't have a green thumb, if I can do it, anybody can do it. But if you like that idea, we're all about plant-based nutrition, and we have the nutritional, and then we also have the system to grow your own, and they just go hand in hand. So our mission really is to inspire healthy living around the world, and we do that in this way. So I'm going to stop the share now. If anybody has any questions, or feel free to ask the person that invited you onto this call, and you can follow up with them at another time too. But I'll hang on for a minute if anybody had any questions. If not, I thank you for coming. Thanks for having Helen, for inviting, and for everybody joining us tonight.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. That was great.